Great. How are you?
Oh, I'm so good. It's so good to see you again.
Like,
Yeah. So before we jump in to the nitty gritty, but I think it's going to be really fun. I'd love to hear a little bit about each of you so you can introduce yourselves to our listeners. Denise, let's start with you.
Sure. Hey, everyone. I'm Denise Walls. I am a core account executive at Salesforce, specializing in communications, media, and tech. I've been at Salesforce for about 2 years. It's been a very exciting whirlwind. I love technology. I've been in sales for a little over 10 years, so very kind of tenured in this whole process. And I'm very curious. I'm originally from Los Angeles, recently moved to Chicago about 2 years ago, and I'm excited about everything technology and AI. And
Awesome.
and now I'll pass it over to Jasmine.
yes. Hello, everybody. Hello, hello. Happy to be here. Happy to be here with my colleague and friend Denise. We get picked to do something together, like whoop whoop. But Jasmine Garrett, based here in Fort Lauderdale, Florida. I've also been with Salesforce for a little bit over 2 years. I'm also in the communications, media, and technology space as an account executive. My account base is mostly telecommunications companies, as well as a few sports teams and marketplaces. I've been in the sales function or the sales profession for about 8 years now. I started off in industrial sales right out of college, kind of worked my way through the ranks, kind of working as an entry level seller. Then I worked with medium to small businesses and then moved over to the international business and helped expand the footprint of that company throughout the Caribbean. And so that was pretty fun. And then COVID hit. And so decided to make a pivot and switch over to tech and really kind of been enjoying my time here and excited to kind of talk about how we deal with our customers on a day to day when it comes to virtual, in person, and AI. So excited for the conversation.
All three spheres of the universes that we operate in these days. And Denise, where in LA did you grow up? I'm originally from LA too.
Oh, I didn't know that. Sherman Oaks.
You grew up in Sherman Oaks? I grew up
Yes.
in Calabasas.
Okay.
Like very
Valley
close.
kids.
I
Valley
was like,
kids connecting.
Well, I'm not from
hello.
California, but I lived in Corona slash Riverside for 6 years as a kid. Just
Okay, we all got some LA vibes here. No, we're all so relaxed, and this is just like fun and easy. But the one thing we didn't do about LA is we weren't 20 minutes late.
We are on
The
time.
traffic,
yeah, I
it's
work
just
from home
so
life. So you just gotta pull up to the computer.
yeah, we have no good reason to be 20 minutes late anymore. I can't blame it on the traffic anyway. The internet connection, right? Yeah. So let's jump in and we can kind of ping pong between the two of you as we move down our track here. So I would love to jump in about what does relationship-based selling really look like in practice? And if you could also zoom out and just maybe give me a high-level description of what that is. Denise, you want to start us off?
Sure. I like that you said kind of let's start a little bit high level in terms of what does relationship based selling look like. And I'll give you guys a couple of kind of key things. I think one is understanding customer needs. That's kind of the foremost of relationship based selling. Building rapport, providing value, and building long term trust. I think that is really encompassing of what a relationship based seller is. But when we think about AI, because that is kind of the topic here, right? Part of building trust is being able to be prepared. And AI can help us do that, right? We can collect information, we can become more productive. And then when we have conversations with our customers, they trust us. We are a value add to them, and we're building that relationship. And so when you offer sort of thought leadership, when you offer advice and strategy, customers will continue to speak to you and you will continue to build better relationships with your customer.
I love that. Jasmine, would you like to chime in on this?
Yeah, Denise, great answer. So, kind of to piggyback on some of the main pillars that she talked about in regards to relationship selling, I feel like aligning with that transparency is also authenticity. And so, when you are relationship based selling, of course, everyone you meet may not be your best friend. You may not have everything in common. You guys may not do work the same way, but really being authentic in yourself in the way that you partner with your customers is super big, because if someone feels like you're being fake or feels like it's being forced, it's kind of like, why would I want to talk to you every day? Why should I instill trust into you if it's more scripted? It's very much, this is my sales play. Let's talk about XYZ 1, 2, 3, So I think that's very important. And I also think that really kind of approaching relationship-based selling as a relationship, when you are in a relationship with someone, you are building something, you are trying to grow with them. And so, yes, we're here to sell. Yes, we're here to meet quotas and make money. And yes, sometimes it could be a transactional type of business, but that business maybe can be transactional sometimes, but your relationship with the customer should not be. So really kind of understanding how you guys work well together, really being able to communicate what you're here for, how I'm going to help you grow, how I'm going to help you build and be successful, I think is another big key.
I love that. I love how you were saying aligning with the transparency equals authenticity. That's chef's kiss. Put it on the wall.
I want to comment on that because I 100% agree. Like Jasmine said, we are friends. So I have had the opportunity to be with her on some of her customer meeting, and I'll tell you, she shows up as herself, and it's very reflected in her customer relationships. You can tell that people feel comfortable being around her, and I think that that is almost like that is the key, right, of relationship based selling.
Okay, don't make me cry out here.
It's true.
Oh,
You are such a
yeah.
good seller. And I was like, wow, I need to start, like I'm learning, I'm picking it up. So thank you for just being yourself.
That's beautiful. Well, this is a safe space. We allow all of it to happen and to flow. I'm a big crier myself, so it's there's a phrase that I've heard that's like, tears can be the highest form of prayer. It's just like it's
Ooh,
like flowing through us, and that it's like reminding me that I'm connected to like all of us, right? So
true.
yeah, yeah. Who knew we were gonna go there?
I know. Wow.
But this is what we're talking about, right? Like building relationships with people is so important in sales, because the word inherent, like relationship, I think about my partners, my family, my partner of 14 years, right? Like that's a relationship. And like you said, it's an ongoing process, and we need to build and foster these relationships in all aspects of our lives, including these work relationships. And I'm curious if y'all can speak to, now that we have so many different ways to communicate, I'd love to hear about your thoughts on why person-to-person selling is even more critical now with the rapid adoption of AI in businesses, as well as virtual ways of communicating. Jasmine, would you like to kick us off on this one?
Yeah. So when we talk about in person, person to person, and then we talk about AI, of course, that personal touch is always going to be better. But when we talk about the criticalness of it, I feel like with AI, which I love AI because I use it all the time, which we'll get to. But with I think it's very crucial for us to still have that person to person relationship or selling motion with our customers, because one, just like Google, you can Google anything, right? You can Google, why do you need this Salesforce product? What is this Salesforce product going to do for me? But it's very general, right? When it comes to that person to person selling, it's more kind of going back to that partnership and really us understanding strategically, what does your customer need? What are they trying to achieve? What's the North Star? What are their goals? So that you can really tie in whatever your product is or your solution is back to what their core values are. Because when we talk about AI, like we can get those answers, we can get those talk tracks right off the back, but it may not be as personalized or as strategic as we really want to be. It may be more of a grandiose answer. And so that's why I think person to person is very important. Whereas using AI may be an aid, but not, the complete solution.
Yeah, absolutely. It's so important to keep that connection. Like you said, it's a tool, it's an aid. AI does not replace people, it enhances people if we're using it wisely and appropriately. Denise, how do you find the connection to person relationships. Is it changed a bit now with these tools that are coming in, or do you still have like something in your roots that you stick to with like person to person connection?
I mean, you can't replace person to person connections, right? That like nothing is going to take the place of a person. Like you have said, and Jasmine has said, AI is a tool for productivity to make us better, to make us smarter, to do the things that when we were trying to be like superhumans all the time, like be very present in a meeting, take all the notes. You know what I'm saying? AI can help you be that, and it can help you be a better version of yourself. But AI cannot see a person in the room and see how they're responding to your messages. They can't see an eyebrow go up or a question or look around and all of these things that you need for person to person interaction. They can't be at a client dinner with you. They can't do those things that are part of building that relationship. So we have to understand its place, but people aren't going away. People to people selling, that's the heart of what we do, and especially when you're in commercial and enterprise speaking to those types of clients, you need to have that.
Yeah, absolutely. The can't say, hey, AI, read the room. Doesn't really work
Yeah.
like
Yeah,
that.
that body language is no joke. Like I mean, when you're because even virtual selling, I mean, of course we've had to get used to, right, due to the pandemic
Mhm.
and all those things. And so you get a little bit better of like noticing people on camera. Like, are they paying attention? Are they looking
Mhm.
at you? Are they looking at anything behind you? You know, things like that. On the phone, you can kind of tell voice inflections, you know, do they want you to get off the phone? Are they interested, et cetera? So you're kind of picking those cues up a little bit better now. But I mean, that body language is huge. Like someone could probably really want you to stop talking. Or don't really not care about this. So it's like, let's pivot, right? So also kind of helps you save time with person to person and really understand where should you be spending your time too.
Yeah, and we've learned how to do it. I love that you mentioned there, Jasmine, the different forms, right? Person to person, phone, Zoom calls, maybe emails as well. Like now with Zoom calls, it's like the facial expressions are very, very linked into are they listening, are they not? Or if you're in the
Mhm.
boardroom, crossing the legs, the body, like that's so now we have all these different ways of picking up these cues. I'm curious. So now on continuing that journey, and now we can get into it a little bit. How are y'all using AI to augment your sales processes currently? Because I know a lot of people are probably very curious about what Salesforce is doing. So, Denise, do you want to kick us off with this?
Sure. I love using AI to help me be more productive. We at Salesforce we have a product called Einstein GPT, Sales GPT, and Service GPT. But in my capacity, I'm using Sales GPT, which is essentially a form of Chat GPT, right? But it's baked right into our Salesforce instance. And the ways that I'm using it are a little bit, I don't know, it could be somewhat untraditional. So, for instance, like I do really like to write my own messages, but I'll go and be like, hey, could you just do a final look just in case, like a extra assistant to proofread? That's when I'm having one-on-one communications. Now, say I want to like, do a quick find of a company and like learn more about what their 10K said. I could pop that into Sales GPT and ask it to summarize the major highlights. That's amazing. Also, we've just got some very cool features in Slack, which I really like because I Slack a lot of like pretty much all day. And so you can press summarize and it will Slack all of the like different things. Like it will summarize everything that you just said to somebody. So that is very helpful. So those are just some of the tools, but I know Jasmine knows a lot. So I will pass it to her.
Those are awesome. Yeah, Jasmine, I'd love to hear about how you're using AI to augment your sales processes at Salesforce.
Yeah, so AI, we go together. I mean, granted, we have Salesforce AI now, which is awesome. I mean, because even going back to kind of like our Einstein product and kind of how Einstein works within our CRM, that kind of helps. That's kind of a version of artificial intelligence in a way, but kind of in the new age versions of AI, utilizing to her point, Sales GPT for sure, especially for like prompts for emails and things of that nature. But I also do use like Chat GPT, like OpenAI, which I'm kind of moving off of now that it's live within Salesforce,
Mhm.
as well as email based wise. If we take an email bucket in AI, I use it a lot because I'm a type of person, I move a mile a minute. So I'm bad at proofreading, and hopefully this doesn't affect my ability to, hey guys, I'm bad at proofreading, but I'm so good at doing my job. I'm bad at proofreading, so bad. Like text messaging, you don't even, I'll send text and you'll be like, what did you say? Because I'm just going, right? So AI has definitely helped me with that. I'm a big Grammarly user. So with
Mhm.
my emails, kind of like outside of the proofreading, I'm loving that they have kind of like that prompt in there as well. But now that
Mhm.
Salesforce has Sales GPT, I'm starting to utilize that a little bit more. But those help me tremendously in regards to checking my emails, as well as kind of maybe formulating some emails very quickly when your brain sometimes is just on pause. Like, you know, you need to send out these 5 emails really quick before the end of the day, but you're thinking about 15 other things and you just can't seem to get out, you know, that paragraph, those couple sentences. You know, those prompt buildings within Salesforce is something that's been extremely helpful for me. Another thing is customer research. And so utilizing AI for customer research has been a game changer. Granted, we have accounts that we've maybe been servicing for a year or so. Sometimes the in-depthness of those accounts may be private or may not be the most common thing talked about. Or sometimes you have customers that are brand new to the business and can't even answer the questions that you're asking. And so utilizing AI to maybe get a deeper dive or get a POV on the customer, like, hey, how do they do these things? Somebody doesn't really know, but like, what is your POV there? Or even understanding, like, if they're doing X, Y, Z, one, two, three, how do our solutions align with that? Maybe what are the top 4 things you would recommend to them? So really kind of utilizing it to assist in your POV and really be able to build that out is another way that I've been kind of utilizing AI to help me in my day to day.
I love that. I love hearing that. And so with, oh, you got something, Denise, as well,
I,
please.
I wanted to just really comment on that proofreading thing and just kind of
Mhm.
and give you guys like a little bit of a vulnerable moment here as well. I also have issues sometimes too because I'm moving so quickly, but I also have dyslexia. So that means I see things differently. So when you're able to actually put it into like a something automated and know that, oh, this is actually correct and I didn't make a mistake because I'm looking at things differently, that's a game changer for people that are suffering with different types of, I don't even want to say it's a suffering, but it's just a different way of learning.
Thank you for that radical vulnerability. And I am also dyslexic, and I feel safe sharing that now because you were open with me. Thank you. So I can totally vouch for that, because for a long time, as I had it undiagnosed as a child, it wasn't until I was an adult. Yeah, I think, we're maybe from a similar class. And it's like a lot of things just flew under the radar for my class anyway. And it wasn't until I was like in the past 10 years, Denise, that I was like, oh, I'm dyslexic.
Yeah, same,
Yeah,
same.
right. And it's wild to be like, oh, I had this story as a kid that I'm dumb and that I'm not smart because that's what I heard. And it really affected the way, like, my confidence with certain things. I was late to learn how to read. For now, I can look back and be like, oh, it's because I was seeing words in reverse and letters in reverse and numbers in reverse.
Same here.
And yeah,
Experience.
wow. Same, same, same. And we came from a similar school district, Denise. So something was going on over there in Southern California. And now, yeah, Grammarly, love Grammarly. I have it on right now. It's helping me in the background. I also do what y'all are talking about, like Jasmine, like my mind is going a mile a minute and I just drop it into one of the LLMs like ChatGPT, large language models. So if someone's like, what was that? Um, and I could just be like, hey, can you punch this up, review any things? And I'll also ask it for feedback sometimes, like, did this is what I'm going for? Did I
Right.
miss anything? And then it can offer up suggestions, and I can choose as the human what to include, as opposed to just like rewrite this and make it better. It's like,
Yeah.
or,
And even like actionable things like overcoming objections. Like I used it for
mm,
that one time because it was an objection that I've done before, but the customer's a tricky one. So it's like, how do I do this in the most delicate way as possible? And
mm,
that's how frustrated I was that day. So I literally went, it was like, this is my dilemma. How do I resolve? Like, what's the best steps to resolve this? And it was like, first, do this first, do that first, do this, So I was like, thank you, because my instincts is definitely not this. So I need just someone to reel me in really quick. It's after hours. I can't call my boss. Like, what's the best ways for me to handle this in the most professional and most fluent way, and then make sure we're still getting the business. So different things like that can help with as well.
Yeah, it's so great. And you bring up such a great point, Jasmine. It's there for us 24/7, right? A lot of us are on different time zones. We're doing stuff asynchronously with our partners, our teammates, our bosses. They might be asleep when I am most actively working. Who knows, And to have that tool that I can run by and then maybe do the next step so that when my sales compatriots wake up in the morning, they didn't have to answer those questions. We're already one day ahead. Right?
Exactly.
Yeah. And with these different GPTs that you mentioned with Einstein and some of the sales one, so that's trained on, it's integrated, right? So it's trained on your information. So when you're asking it what to do, it knows your best practices. Is that right?
Correct. So with Sales GPT, well, Einstein GPT as a whole for Salesforce, but we just now launched Sales GPT and Service GPT. With the Einstein trust layer within Salesforce, it's protecting, of course, your company's data, and then it's only pulling, positive information within. So it is trained on the data that's within Salesforce, your current Salesforce, as well as pulling in external data to answer any questions or help you formulate the information that you need.
I love that. So we got a comment from the audience, and I love this, and it's perfect for the conversation. Someone asked, "Are we going to be led astray by our Chat GPT friend, though? Didn't those Google Maps lead people into fountains?" Right. So this is a very I love. Thank you for asking this. This is the
Yeah.
importance of keeping a human in the loop in the
Mhm.
process of AI, right?
Right.
So
Absolutely.
yeah, Jasmine, what's your take on that? Like,
Well, that's a great question. One, because that's the first thing I thought too. And hey, it could be possible because we don't control. I mean, we control, there is some controlling depending on what type of AI you're using, who's managing that AI. So it could lead you astray, but that is the part to your point. That is where that person is important. I mean, and it also depends on what you're using it for. Like, you cannot be using AI to decide your entire life, also. Like me, I haven't done anything too in depth. It's very kind of flatline, something more quick as an aid. Like certain things I may know, but just need help completing it faster is probably what I'm using it for 80% of the time. 25% of the time is where I maybe be asking, like, hey, what's the best way to do this? Or maybe what are the steps to this? Or if a customer sends me something that's a term, or this is something that they do that I've never heard of, sometimes you can Google stuff and it just be a million different answers. If you could be more specific with AI, hey, this type of industry said this, kind of what are some options that this may mean, and be able to utilize those context clues to maybe go have a better formulated rebuttal to your customer, a better question with more detail, opposed to just being like, what's that? So I agree with you in regards to, could it lead us astray? Hopefully not, but also utilizing it with discretion, but also with forethought is definitely a big best practice.
yeah, absolutely. Just like when I get feedback from anybody, right? They are not the end all and be all of all information, right?
I agree, and I think it's important to note with Chat GPT, it will really never say no to you. So like it will lead you astray. Like you
Mhm.
have to be, like you said, like Jasmine said, use discretion and understand that this is one layer of your research. This isn't the end all be all. You will still have to do other work and sometimes validate all that stuff. That is why Salesforce brought in ChatGPT and other different large language models so that we are eliminating some of the bias, some of the toxicity, and some of the not like hallucinations. That's the term that they call it. So
Because
I would
ChatGPT
say,
talk too much. I
hmm,
say because ChatGPT talk too much sometimes.
it does. So it will
Yeah,
not.
when hallucinating and tripping, they just run their mouth, don't they?
Like, all right, more concise.
Yeah, but to your point, Denise, absolutely. We as people, we need to do our own research. Just like when we type in a search engine, the first thing I see isn't necessarily the correct answer.
Mhm. Correct.
Yeah. And so you both started to allude to, you have ChatGPT, you have some other tools. What are some of the tools that, in addition to ChatGPT, that have been helpful that you might recommend for sales folks in the AI space?
I can take that. So one of the tools I like is called Tactique. You can install that on your like Google Meetings, and basically it will summarize all. It'll take notes, a transcription of everything that was spoken, and then summarize it, and then also give you action items for next steps. So that is extremely helpful as I'm moving sometimes 7 meetings in a day. So that will definitely that's like one of my number ones.
Oh yeah, I love a note taker. It's a game changer for me, right? Because I can't remember everything. It's impossible. Like you said earlier, like we had a meeting at 2:30 and I don't know what was that. And then I can go look at my summaries and be like, "Oh, I need to follow up with that person. Thank you, AI action item, because we talked about X." And
Yeah,
that's a one-liner that can save me so much frustration later, and it's more accurate than if I'm just like jotting down notes, because it's jotting down a transcription. Yeah.
correct.
Jasmine, do you have any other fun tools that are helping you with your AI tools that are helping you with your sales?
I actually don't. Stole my one, the tactique. And then I have been playing around with some other ones here and there, but I've mostly kind of been using like flat out open AI, but starting to transition myself onto Sales GPT for Salesforce. And then also too, I already mentioned Grammarly, but if anybody is a Slack user, kind of going back to what Denise said before, the upcoming GPT or Einstein AI capabilities of Slack, I know are kind of in pilot right now, but they are on the way. And being able to summarize those conversations and the different things that they have on the roadmap is going to be amazing. Because I know, I mean, we use Slack in their day-to-day workspace, but some people use it for, personal, for side hustles, for, groups within community service, etc. So that's going to be another tool that's going to be very tailored to kind of your everyday communications.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's starting to come in Zoom platform too. There's an AI assistant that can do recaps.
Mm-hmm.
There's one button that says, "What did I miss?" If you're like to a meeting, and I was like, "Don't overuse that button, everybody. Show up on time."
Oh my goodness. I haven't clicked it yet. And I'm gonna do it next time.
Yeah, check it out. There's, I think the whoever has to host it has to turn it on, and if they turn it on,
Oh, okay.
you can access it.
Okay, okay.
So it is interesting. So it's at the host's discretion of the meeting.
Got you. Okay.
Yeah, yeah. Um, so as we're wrapping up here, with there's a younger generation that's come into the workforce, and a lot of them don't use the telephone. I myself too, if I see someone calling me, I have to be like, "Oh no, is it an emergency?" It's I've just kind of been trained that way, and I imagine folks that are younger maybe don't even want to answer it. So, but not everyone. But for folks that are like that, how do you nurture that relationship with people that maybe like to communicate not on the phone?
Well, I've got one that I think that was just really impressive. Someone did this to me the other day, and then they did it to Jasmine. I was like, "This is great." On LinkedIn, you can leave a voice note, and a
Mm,
voice note. I was like, "Wow, I never listened to voicemails," but a voice note on LinkedIn. That's kind of like a different way. If you're thinking just like cold prospect, let's go. But on a day to day nurturing, I love Slack. I have all of my top people on my accounts. I communicate with them almost every day on Slack. That helps to nurture like a relationship. They know that I'm sort of like them there. I'm thinking about their project. I'm emailing. I'm LinkedIn. I'm sending LinkedIn. You'll find me.
I
Yeah,
love
that
that.
completely forgot about that. Yeah, that was impressive.
So,
And I'm a voice note girly. In my text messages and in WhatsApp, like me and my friends, we send voice notes all the time. So when I got that voice note on LinkedIn, I was like, okay, he's changing the game. Shout out to him. That was great tactic to follow up after networking with us at a conference.
yeah.
So I definitely agree with that. Of course, LinkedIn as well, but sometimes LinkedIn messages, if you're not in sales nav and they don't have you as a connection, they can get lost. And so if it is prospecting, that is probably the best way, honestly, if it's not a phone call, or being very creative with your email messaging. If it is your customer, and to Denise's point in regards to nurturing, I'd utilize Slack as well for my customers who have Slack and some who don't, if they can get the free workspace of Slack, to talk with me through there. But then also too, like, phone calls are hard. Like, I rarely use my phone. We have work phones, but I rarely use my phone. No one calls me. Like, my customers don't call me. So this is actually like our day to day. Like, to me, I don't know about you, Denise, but my customers do not call me. If my customer calls me, it's maybe once a month someone's calling me and it's a customer. Normally it's a text. And so if you're comfortable with your customers and you want to nurture, text messaging, I know, has always kind of been like that thing that we should stay away from. You shouldn't be texting in meetings and shouldn't be looking at your phone, etc. But customers love to text. It's very easy. It's at their fingertips. They can go back and easily track those messages. You can easily screenshot, hey, remind you now with iPhones, reply. And so I think those are some great ways to do that.
I love that. Well, sadly, we are out of time. I hope we get to do this again. Denise, Jasmine, is LinkedIn the best way to reach out and for folks to keep the conversation going with y'all?
Yes,
Yeah.
we are actually active on LinkedIn. We do respond. So that
Great.
tactic will work with us.
Okay, great. Well, you can look for my connect link request later today.
Thank you so
Thank
much
you.
for the time, Hunter.
Oh, thank you for making the time. This was absolutely delightful, and I hope you both have a great rest of your day.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
All right,
Bye.
take care now.